Hello and thank you for joining us on today's edition of Gender Agenda. I am Adora Onyenchera. You are most welcome. Please remember you can connect with us on any of our social media handles now that we'll display on your screen for your views, contributions on the program. And yes, today we will continue with our discussions on curbing sexual and gender-based violence and how the policies in place has helped to tackle or curb the menace as it is still on the rise. But not so much of a bad news. We have cherry news, good news, or should I say good news? Well, how am I supposed to put it? Let's say, because we prefer to say it never happened in the first place, our little Hanifa Abubakar, the 5-year-old pupil who was murdered by her school proprietor, still alive. The matter was heard on Thursday and the court sentenced the little girl's killers to death by hanging. And we have that report in our Women in the News segment, and we will soon serve you that for you to have a look at really the detailed story. Now, reports show that the issue of sexual and gender-based violence and violence against women are prevalent across the country and not just isolated to particular spaces. Some cases, like in the southwest Nigeria, where Nuwel Ajagu, 40 years, allegedly defiled the teenage daughter of his brother in the Ikorodu area of Lagos, southwest Nigeria. Or two men, Yusuf Adeshola, 19, and Folarin Samsudin, 19, were alleged to have caused the death of Bidemi Akinsoji, female, by raping her in Ibadan, southwest Nigeria. Now, in the north-central Nigeria, a man in Plateau State was reported to have disemboweled his 23-year-old wife, fled with her phone, so she will not make a call and call for help. A 15-year-old girl was raped during a robbery in Kubwa, a satellite town in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Now, some gory details also we have from northeast Nigeria, where Aisha Umaru, a female internally displaced person in Kano State, northeastern Nigeria, was reportedly dead after allegedly being raped by an official of an international non-governmental organization. And over to the southeast Nigeria, Peter Ezala, 61 years old, and Nwachukwu Igwilo, 27 years old, were arrested by the police in Anambra for allegedly defiling 4 minors in Umudim, Newi, in Newi North local government area, southeast Nigeria. In April 2021, a sensational clip was released of popular Yoruba actor, of course you know him, Baba Ijesha, molesting a 14-year-old girl. And on April 19, 2021, a video clip showing popular Nollywood actor Larenwaju James, alias Baba Ijesha again, sexually assaulting a minor went viral on social media. Now, the 14-year-old is a foster daughter of actress and comedian Damilola Adekoya, alias Princess. And the CCTV was set up because the young girl had opened up to her foster mother about the accused molesting her at 9. And this scenario was set up to catch him in the act and thus providing the evidence that will be the final nail in his proverbial coffin. Late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu is not left out. She was beaten to death by her husband. Nigerian gospel singer Osinachi, like we know, died on April 8th, 2022, allegedly due to the abuse and beatings from her husband. Now, when the story about the circumstances around her death broke out, the public was not only shocked, they queried how such a gifted singer suffered domestic violence for such a long time without respite. Now, sadly, Osinachi perhaps joins several cases of women across Nigeria whose untimely death and injuries were because of domestic violence, often by a spouse or an intimate partner. And the case of 21-year-old airwoman Sholakpe Oladi Pupo, allegedly killed by her boyfriend and confirmed killed by her boyfriend, Airman Carlo Bernard, in March 2017. The list is endless, absolutely endless. But what I must say here is that we are also looking at gender identities and narratives. We need to change how we report stories. So instead of using the word defiled, because when you use the word defiled, it means that you put the blame on the victim and not the perpetrator. And so these are some of the conversations we will be having along in our conversation. But joining us to look at this today is Ambassador Antonia Akpabio-Ekpa. She is a public servant in Nigeria's government. She has held various top positions in the country as well. She will join me on set immediately after our Women in the News and Voices segment. To stay with us, we'll be right back.
A Kano State High Court has sentenced to death the proprietor of Noble Kids Comprehensive College, Kano, Abdumalik Tanko, for the killing of a 5-year-old schoolgirl, Hanifa Abubakar. Abdumalik, who is the prime suspect, and Hashimu Ishaq, his accomplice, are to die by hanging, while Fatima Jibrin was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. The presiding judge, Justice Usman Naba, gave the sentence after finding them guilty for the gruesome killing of Hanifa. 5-year-old Hanifa's death was one that shocked not just the city of Kano, but the entire country. On the 4th of December 2021, she was dropped off at school, the Noble Kids Comprehensive College, by her mother. That was the last time she was seen. All search for her by her family turned negative. Weeks later, her remains was discovered buried in a shallow grave. Her abductor turned out to be the proprietor of her school, Abdumalik Tanko, who had kidnapped her and demanded 6 million naira from her parents and later killed her. A woman from India's tribal minority, Draupadi Murmu, has been elected as the country's president with the backing of the ruling party, making her the first person from the marginalized community to occupy the top post. Murmu, who is from Santal tribe, secured the largest ceremonial position with the support of more than half the electorate. Her closest rival, the opposition-backed Yashwan Sena, a former member of the BJP and former finance and external affairs minister, also tweeted his congratulations. Murmu will be the country's second woman president after Pratibha Patil, who held the position for 5 years from 2007 and succeeds Ramnath Kovind, the second president from the Datil community, the bottom of the Hindu caste system.
Regarding this ASU strike, it's quite unfortunate that it's happening this way. Education of every country is very, very important. What interballistic missile cannot do to a country, education can do it. If you want to destroy a country, just lower the standard of education. Then you get bad doctors, you get bad engineer, and so on and so forth. So any leader that value followership, if his priority is to get the education right, when you get the education right, then all that other things will fall in. All this insecurity we are talking about will not come in. So for this ASU strike, as it is now, it is better to be late than ever. The president, the government in power, still has an opportunity to reverse this situation.
They have the power to end up this thing, and they don't want to do it. All they feel like is the insecurity is not caused by us, is from the other way we inherited from the previous regime. But you are the national, you are the national government now. You have the power to stop all this thing, and you are not doing it.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And that was, unfortunately, our Hall of Shame. and they still have some governors on that Hall of Shame who haven't passed the VAP Act. I don't know if they're thinking, but we will keep spotlighting them until they do the right thing. And I'm sure that those that were on that list a month ago have also been taught by the pressure groups and also the advocacy ongoing to also do the right thing. Because, I mean, the VAP Act, without the VAP Act, how are you going to punish perpetrators? How are you going to enforce the law to be able to look at abuses against women, especially sexual and gender-based violence? And I would like to tell you that my guest is Ambassador Antonia Ekpa. She is a seasoned policy expert and has served in several ministries, from Ministry of Women Affairs as Permanent Secretary, Ministry of course, Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs as Permanent Secretary, and that of Ministry of Foreign Affairs as Permanent Secretary. So you would have a bouquet of knowledge on this show today with her as your guest. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
As always. All right, so let's first of all start from, the beginning. I mean, just when we started, we talked about the level of sexual and gender-based violence against women, and it cuts across the states, not just, at the urban centers, even in the communities. And I know that you have, worked in policy, for quite a long time. How do you think that the policies have shaped implementation, one, secondly, activation of, perpetrators getting run down by their crimes?
Okay. Thank you very much, Adora. It's my pleasure to be here.
Finally.
And congratulations again.
Thank you.
On this very good program, timely as it is. Well, the issue of policy and the implementation, and of course the effects and outcomes, is a critical one to discuss on this subject matter. You just made a statement now, the fact that not all states have implemented or have even acceded to that particular policy. And the VAP Act is alive and well, and it is supposed to address, as you well know, the issues surrounding violence. And but so far, not much has been done in terms of, I think, in my own perception, monitoring across local governments. There ought to, when you have a policy in place, as a matter of fact, and that is something that going forward, the relevant agencies have to take on. Unfortunately, we couldn't do much of that when we had to, because of our short stay in the sector. All right, but what it is that this violence is going on. And while I was a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Women Affairs, there was no day you didn't have either a child or a woman, and strangely sometimes men, come into the ministry reporting abuse. And the policy, in fact, having the VAP Act in place has quite minimized the situation. And of course, you know that there is a spotlighting initiative, and then there are other initiatives, and of course, thanks also to the development partners and advocacy groups and voices, very loud voices like yours, that have drummed up this issue. The Ministry of Women Affairs itself has been quite active, but going beyond the flair of advocacy, there is need for actual monitoring of what is going on. And then, of course, there is a challenge of prosecution of culprits. As at last year, we were still having challenge of court cases not being handled promptly. And that for us is a major issue. And then, of course, many also were not reported because of the social issues associated with them, especially stigmatization. So indeed, I must say that prior to the VAP Act, people could just do things and get away with it. You just spoke about the imprisonment of the school teacher or the school owner who abused, or in fact, that's an abuse, or kidnapped that child and took her away. So, but the focus, actually, I guess we have to look at more critically, is the fact that it's an occurrence that is even within the household. And when we talk about violence, gender-based violence, GBV, and all of the sexual and gender violence, people think it is only men on women. You also have situations where I, as a permanent secretary, were reporting men being abused in the offices by women, children being abused in the classroom by teachers or other providers of support to them, either as caregivers, yes, or house help supporters, cleaners, or whoever you bring into your home. These situations are there, but I tell you more critically, there is need for actual, not advocacy. When you say advocacy, advocacy is like, it's like a wind that comes, blows, and goes away. But what are the practical actions that are being taken? And policy is one thing, implementation is another, and then overall monitoring and evaluation of outcomes. So somebody has been imprisoned, how about the others? So consistent following up of the matter is what is needed, I must say. Thank you.
All right, now you raise a very significant issue, because when people talk about gender in the space of female and male, they look at the minority class, which are women. And, you know, when you hear that minority class, the first thing that comes to you is that the abuse must be by a man. And you just raised something quite significant here, that even within that minority group, that is the women, that there are also women abusing women. Can you illuminate?
Now, I want to look at it from two perspectives. I have my own arguments over GBV, because I have my background, you know, is on gender and communication and what it does. The impression you get, or I got, as a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Women Affairs, was that it's all about sexual abuse, beating of women. But there is a psychological abuse. There is verbal abuse, attitudinal abuse,
Emotional.
deprivation abuse. Gender is the underlining factor. And look, gender is a social construct. It is not about your personhood as male or female. It is what you are doing with being a woman or a man, or what society is doing to you for being a woman or a man. Then when it comes to violence, I will say that I have suffered, not sexual violence, I have never, to the glory of God, but I must say, abuse that will even affect your personhood.
Your sanity.
And this abuse, strangely, is by women. It's by women in the workplace.
In the workplace.
And this is something that has not been addressed. We talk about violence, and then everybody gathers and say, men, men, men. Women do abuse women. Let me tell you, as a permanent secretary, having gone around ministries, or as a director, having gone around ministries, critical ones at that, big ones, there were male staff who were being abused by their directors who were female. There are female staff who are abused by their directors who are female. And this has a psychological impact on the child, on the staff. I have noticed, I have quite a smart insight, and to God's glory, that a staff comes into your office and is nervous, and there is no reason for that. Directors do not want staff in their offices, because this chair that belongs to a director cannot be sat upon or on by a junior colleague. So that staff consistently feels threatened. The space is caustic. So what's JBV?
All right, so I'll hold you on that thought before we get on. Quite intense and very expository. We will take a bout now, and we will be right back. To stay with us.
Elect Her, a non-profit organization and Platform Capital, an investment firm, have hosted Joyce Banda, former president of the Republic of Malawi. During the reception in Lagos, Banda spoke on the theme, "The Future is Feminine. How can African women position themselves as change agents in life, business, and politics?" The former Malawi president clarified the distinction between the future is feminine and the future is female. She said, "The future is feminine does not mean that the future belongs to the women only."
I want men and women of Africa to feel very proud that as a continent we've done very well in opening up space to allow our women to participate in leadership.
In her remarks, it is about eliminating all practices and systems that disadvantage women. It is not an infringement or disturbance to the world order, but rather, it is about correcting what is fundamentally wrong with the current world order. In her remarks, Ibijoke Faborode, the founder and chief executive officer of Elect Her, noted that countries that have seen the election and representation of women at the highest political offices have done so at the lowest point of their economics. Speaking at the event, Akintoye Akindele, chairman Platform Capital Group, said, "Our women have woken up and become entrepreneurs in proper world. By increasing capital access from 3% to 10% to female initiatives and businesses, we can create improved development outcomes in Africa." The session was moderated by Akindele and Faborode to further highlight the importance of increased women participation in government and business.
People to listen. Now, she has come to share what she experienced as a matriarch of African politics. She has come to share how she was able to transform our economy and also bring business people into the country, international investors.
The event also had in attendance members of the recently inaugurated Agenda 35 Advisory Council, Adora Onyechere, Japhet Omojuwa, Blessing Adesinya, Okwe Orinyowo, Adewumi Emerowa, and Hazizat Yusho, representatives of diplomatic missions, Chashma Nkrumah, Deputy High Commission, Canadian Mission in Nigeria, and Jenny Lewis, official spokesperson of the U.S. Consulate. Other high network individuals in the event included Joy Obayuwana, Managing Director, Polo Luxury Group, Betty Rabo, Publisher, Genevieve Magazine, Pamile Osibo, Partner, Platform Capital, Hansatu Adegbite, Executive Director, Wimbees, Stephanie Busari, Editor, CNN Africa, Joyce Daniel, ESO Local Government Area Chairmanship Candidate in Edo State. In her closing remark, Faborode led all guests to make a renewed public commitment to improving women's participation in government, ensuring equality and representation of women in different walks of life, especially as Nigeria prepares for the next general election in 2023. Elect Her is a non-governmental organization committed to increasing representation of women in public life and politics through behavioral change communications, community building, capacity development, technology innovation, and increased access to social, human, and financial capital.
Well, thank you for that one, Amaka, and that report was quite incisive. The visit of Joyce Banda to Nigeria and exploring other dimensions of women can be included in leadership. And I must say that's why we're here with you today, madam, to actually illuminate, because you just brought out, I had, did I say goosebumps or goose wrinkles? Like, I don't even, in between the two, while you were speaking, because I'm sure a lot of women will be wondering, what is she saying?
Absolutely.
But what you have said is quite thematic, because a lot of people have not really seen the layers of violence against women, now by women. How did you survive that environment, and what are the challenges?
Let me tell you. One, for whatever reason, there isn't. And look, it's not only about the public service. It is that we don't even have, and it numbs me, we don't even have counseling facilitation. We don't have counseling facilitation where, and this is something that government institutions must put in place.
Womanism.
Womanism. Womism.
Womism.
Womism is a concept I have devised because I sat down and I was like, what can I call what I'm going through?
All right, let's, while you catch your
As a university lecturer, I suffered it. I suffered it. And I wrote a poem in my publication called Sister That I Am, as a university lecturer.
Okay, so let's hold you on that thought and take social media quickly, because we do need to go. The next program is also a live program and we need to end the show. But we are definitely going to touch on this next week, and we'll definitely have you back. I'm sure women are raring for that. Let's have the social media. We'll be right back. So Nigerian government should stop paying lip service to Nigeria's education system. Let them settle. I don't know whether that's the word to use, but that's coming from Mustafa Aldu from Bauchi State. Let them settle with ASIL, and that's the much we can take from our social media, guys. We're very sorry. We'll take more next week. It was run out of time, and we want to say thank you at this junction because we will be bringing you back. It's time to go, but we will not leave the studio without talking backstage about this womanism, of our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show and bringing that expose to the context. Well, from me, I'll say have a lovely, lovely Friday. My name is Adora Onyechere, and it was hot in here. But again, I'll say see you again next week. Over.
No longer in the shadows, forced to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song. Sing a song.